Have you ever wondered where your toothbrush is?
Ooh.
Or do you feel the need to wear gloves when touching your toothbrush? If you answered yes to either of these questions, boy do we have a video for you. Today we are going to apply the PDCA cycle to engineer a toothbrush holder. The PDCA cycle is a tool that allows us to iterate through designs to quickly reach the optimal product. If you have forgotten what the PDCA cycle is, it is also known as the Shewhart cycle or the plan, do, check, act cycle. With the review out of the way, let's get to it.
Okay, so let's get started. This is the PDCA cycle that I made in my last video, and I'm going to change it so that it works for designing a toothbrush holder. So for the plan, I'm going to make a toothbrush holder. The software that I'm going to use to model it is Fusion 360, and it needs to hold 4 toothbrushes. For the do phase of this project, it's pretty simple. All I need to do is model it and print it. For the check phase, I just need to check to make sure it meets all requirements, adjust any changes, and either go back to the plan phase or replace my old toothbrush holder. Okay, so the first thing I need to do in Fusion 360 is save the document as a new design. After that, I create a sketch and start modeling my toothbrush holder. I typically like to use the line tool because I'm not very good at 3D modeling yet. It's easier for me to just determine where things are if I just use the line tool. Now in this model, I'm not trying to do anything particularly fancy. I'm just trying to get something that is quick and easy that I can print out and then check to make sure that it works to hold my toothbrushes. So here I'm just estimating the different parameters that I would need so that I can print something that works. I found that the easiest way to duplicate a shape is to just use the offset tool, and then you can make the wall as thick as you want, and then select the shape, revolve it around a solid, and there you go, you have a cylindrical object. I'm going to be basing this toothbrush holder off of a cup, just a cup with holes in the top. And so now that I have a cylinder that looks like a cup, I need to make the holes in the top so that you can fit the toothbrushes in. Again, I'm estimating the parameters for the holes, so they may not be exactly right, but I'll fix that on the second plan, do, and check phase of the cycle. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm going to just split the circle into 4 pieces and then put smaller circles on the center points of those lines, so that way I know that everything is even. I know that there's a revolve function, but I couldn't remember where it was, so I'm just doing it this way. Now, if you remember, I made the inside of this shape hollow, so I only really need to go down about 2 millimeters in order to make the holes so that it's an empty cup with holes in the top for the toothbrushes to hang. However, I've been 3D printing for a while, and I know that overhangs in a sealed container don't really work very well. I could print it on its side, but I would get like a weird layer effect on the side. So I probably want to adjust the initial sketch so that I don't need to put any overhangs or supports. The best way to do that, I've found, is to make an arc on those spots. As long as the angle of the arc isn't too steep, you don't really need any supports to print. And if it's in a hidden spot, you won't really need to worry about layers showing, because you can't see that unless you look underneath it or through it. But when it prints out, I'll show you what I mean. And the last feature I realized I needed is, since the bottom is a slope, I need to extend the holes down so that the toothbrushes have a place to rest. I don't want to go all the way through because I don't want it to be holes all the way through. I just want it to have a small barrier so that way the toothbrushes can rest on the bottom but not have any issues staying up straight. Okay, so this is that first toothbrush holder print. As you can see, it's enormous. If you put a standard size toothbrush in there, it kind of almost touches the toothbrush head. In my opinion, there's a toothbrush danger zone, which is anything above where you would grip it. that's where my mouth goes. And so I don't really want that touching anything else. Also, I realized that if water or anything gets in here, I'd have to turn it upside down and shake it, just like that, to try and get anything out. So I think those are the two changes that I'm going to make. I'm going to smooth the edges, I'm going to make it shorter, and then I'm also not going to have a bottom so I can clean it if I need to. Okay, so for the second phase of the plan to check act cycle, I'm just going to shorten it. I'm not really measuring, I'm just doing roughly taking a third off. And then I'm also going to take the bottom of this off just so that it's open on the bottom instead of having a closed bottom with holes for the toothbrush in it. And there we go. It's looking pretty good. So I'll get this printed and then let's see how things go. Okay, so this is the original plan that I did. As you can see, I shortened it by a lot and I smoothed the edges so they're not sharp. I also got rid of the bottom on this one, and you can see in here the layer lines, so I didn't print this with supports. So that's the worst that it got, which is really nice. Much nicer than I thought, and no one's really going to see it anyways. So with this toothbrush holder, that was the second cycle. It's good enough for me, so I'm going to use this as my new toothbrush holder. One thing I did notice while putting my toothbrush in the new toothbrush holder is that because there's no bottom, it kind of slides a little bit. Which for me, I don't really care. There's only like one toothbrush that's going to go in there. So if I were to do the PDCA cycle again, I would add that change where I'd shorten it and I would put like a little holder on the bottom to hold the toothbrush in place. But I'd also make it more open so that way if there is water down there, it'll be easier to clean.